start. Just a minute.
Notice of a public meeting of the City Commission of the City of Brownsville pursuant to Chapter 551, Title 5 of the Texas Government Code and the Texas Open Meetings Act. Notice is hereby given that the City Commission of the City of Brownsville, Texas, in accordance with Article 5, Section 12 of the Charter of said city, will convene a special meeting on Tuesday, August the 12th, 2014 at 6 p.m. in the Commission Chambers on the second floor of Brownsville City Hall, located at 1001 East Elizabeth Street, Brownsville, Cameron County, Texas. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation.
To the flag of the United States of America,
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
honor the Texas flag, pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
We don't have someone?
We don't have a pastor.
So why don't we just say, Our Father? Our Father, who art in heaven, holy be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Commissioners' reports. Anyone have a report?
I just have a quick announcement.
Construction.
Okay. I
At least I guess that's why they blocked the road.
I said it for you, Pastor.
What's that?
I said it for you. I hope I did okay.
I'm sure you did. It's good for the city to hear their commissioners and mayor leading in prayer now.
There you go.
So,
Okay.
that's good deal.
Commissioner.
I just have a quick announcement. I was invited to participate in I guess it's like an entrepreneurship training that UTB is offering. Unfortunately, it's the same night as commission meetings, but I thought it was a really good opportunity for the public. It's UTB Kaufman Fast Track New Venture Entrepreneurship Program, and it's from September 9th through November 11th, every Tuesday from 6 to 9 p.m. There were sponsorships from BCIC, BEDC, Falcon International Bank, IBC Bank, Real Bank, and Walmart. So the course itself is only $100 because of these sponsorships. And it is a great opportunity for existing business or existing entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs. So I thought I would share it with the general public. If you haven't heard of this, contact UTB and sign up.
Anyone else? Okay. Presentations?
Presentations, Cameron County Regional Mobility Authority update.
Good afternoon. My name is David Alex. I'm chairman of the Cameron County Regional Mobility Authority, and I've had this great responsibility for almost a little over 10 years. I'm going to just make a few short comments and let Pete present our slide presentation. One of the things, and I know Commissioner Cowan knows this because we've talked a lot. One of the challenges that I've had, I was born and raised in the Valley. I was born in Hidalgo, Texas, product of a farm family, and I've always been involved in community development. And when I had the opportunity to be appointed by the governor for this project, I knew that transportation was going to be one of the key elements for our growth and prosperity in the valley. One of the cliches I've always used is that I want to see that we devote what time we have on this earth to develop a program of work that will give every citizen in Cameron County an equal opportunity to be gainfully employed. Very simple. And so with Marcus Sparza, one of my board members, and the other 4 board members, we have that philosophy in what's important. What's really important is that when we started this authority and the Commissioner's Court had the responsibility of appointing my board members, was that I kind of illegal what I did, but I told them that here's what I wanted on my board, and it was stipulated in the legislature, which it wasn't. But I wanted to make sure that whoever appointees they made to this board had to go home every night and make a payroll. Simple as that. I didn't want any political appointees. They could be political appointees, they're going to be that, but they have to have the responsibility to go home at night, either talk to their partners, their wife, or their business associates, and make a payroll. It's simple. And so that's what we've had over the last 10 years. We've had a group of ladies, a couple of gals, and a couple of 4 or 5 men that have to go home every night and make a payroll. And the Commissioners Court has abided by that over the last 10 years, and they still are. So I'm real proud that with my limited experience in business over the last 15 years, is that I looked to these 5 individuals over the last 10 years to make sure that we're doing the right thing to give all of our citizens an equal opportunity to be gainfully employed. If they don't want to go get employed, that's fine, but we're going to give them that opportunity to do that. So I'm going to let Pete's now full-time with the, well, never is full-time, but in full-time. Sorry? Oh, you want me to do that? Okay. Here's what we're looking at right now, is that you're talking about the Rio Grande Valley. If you're talking about a 35-mile radius in any section, that oval right there includes everything almost from Rio Grande City to the Gulf of Mexico. And in that area right now, 2010, we had 3.5 million people, including Mexico, 1 million on the U.S. side and the rest on the Mexican side. In the next, when you going to, I don't have it, in the next 20 years, that's what it's going to look like. We're going to have 7 million people in that area. So if you're talking about transportation challenges, you're talking about education challenges, you're talking about sewer plants and water supply companies, you're talking about all the elements that takes a community to grow and prosper. That's what you're looking at. And I think we're being very conservative when we're looking at 7 million people by the year 2040. Because what's happening in Brownsville is in the last 48 hours. I mean, that's going to happen all over the valley. And we've just seen a small bit of what's going to happen. I'm involved in it all over South Texas and northern Mexico. My company, well, I have a company in Mexico, and we do industrial real estate there. But my point being is that that's the challenge we have here. So we're in your RMA, the Cameron County RMA is as transparent as we can get. All of our minutes are on. You can look at all of our minutes. We try every 6 months to make a presentation to every city in Cameron County and the County Commissioners Court every quarter. And so we're here to say thank you for letting us serve you. Thank you for letting me be chairman. And I'm going to let Pete go ahead and bring you a brief PowerPoint on where we're at right now. Pete.
Thank you. For the record, Pete Sepulveda, and I am full-time, but both at the county and at the RMA. I'm just going to go over a couple of slides and just briefly go over some of the projects that we've been working on for the last 8 years or so, and some of the major accomplishments. As you all know, we have signage on I-69E. The entire route from Brownsville to Corpus is environmentally cleared. There's another slide that I have that I'll show you the remaining projects in the Clayburgh-Nueces County area. And as soon as those 4 projects are complete, then the entire stretch will be signed as I-69E. From the Harlingen area to the Mission area, we have Interstate Highway 2. Both were signed about a year ago by TxDOT. TxDOT's been pretty slow about putting up all the signs along the entire route, so you only see them at major intersections, in the Veterans Bridge area, then in the Harlingen area, and in the far McAllen area as well. But that's a major accomplishment, being able to have an interstate highway come down to the Brownsville, Cameron County, Lower Rio Grande Valley area. Other project, West Rail relocation, 99% complete. We've got a couple of issues pending with Customs and Border Protection, and hopefully here before the end of the year we can have that operational. This is a switch yard in Olmito. A couple of years ago it was expanded to include the capacity for the Harlingen switch yard. So now UP has one consolidated switchyard in the Olmito area. If you travel in between San Benito and Brownsville, you'll see a lot of construction going on at this intersection. State Highway 550 and I-69E. We're building direct connectors onto the expressway. That project will be complete the third week in September. In about another 2 or 3 weeks, we will start placing the steel girders over I-69E. So that will be a historical moment. This will be the third interchange type of connectors that are constructed in the Rio Grande Valley. The first one was in 94 and FAR, then the second one in the 2000 in Harlingen, and then this will be the third one here on State Highway 550 that used to be FM 511. Once that's done, it'll be direct connectivity to the Port of Brownsville. This is a brand new entrance into the Port of Brownsville. So that whole 10-mile stretch, come October this year, a vehicle, especially a commercial vehicle, will be able to get to the Port of Brownsville without having to stop, if that is their destination. If your destination is the Laguna Madre area, then you can get on State Highway 48 as well. You all know the problems we have with the overweight corridor, commercial vehicles originating from the Veterans Bridge, those destinations, the Port of Brownsville. They're carrying up to 120,000 pounds. We've had multiple fatalities on International Boulevard. There was 24 different conflicts between the Veterans Bridge and the Port of Brownsville, including elementary schools, high schools, there's residential areas, commercial areas. So the accident rate along that stretch is extremely high compared to the state average. So this is the East Loop project from the Veterans Bridge south to the south entrance of the Port of Brownsville. We're scheduled to begin construction August of 2015, so just about a year from now. We're deep into the environmental process. Should have environmental clearance late this year or early next year. Once we do that, then we'll start designing it, acquiring the right-of-way. And then, as I mentioned, the construction should start about a year from now. And that will alleviate most of the commercial traffic along International Boulevard. It will take out all of the overweight corridors that are carrying the 120,000 pounds, because they will be required to utilize the new East Loop. During the last legislative session, we made the transfer. As soon as the East Loop is open, it'll become the new overweight corridor from the Veterans Bridge to the Port of Brownsville. That's very important. I believe the Port and TxDOT collect about $1.2 million a year from the permit fees from those trucks carrying the 120,000 pounds. So we're just going to make it a much more safer route going from an urban area to a more rural area. Other project we're working on is second access project from the mainland to South Padre Island. We're down to one alternative, which is this alternative right here. We're expecting to submit the final environmental document to the feds November of this year. The next 90 days is very critical for us. We've got a lot of different types of analysis, studies, surveys that are being completed. We just began the mitigation plan. We're coordinating with all the different cooperating agencies at the state level, the federal level. The final document, when it's submitted to the feds in November, will be a 2,800-page document, very thorough, very detailed. The mitigation plan will be a draft. It will not be final. Once the agencies come back and look at the document one last time, we will finalize the mitigation plan. But right now, the plan is to submit that final document November of this year. Last week, we had two different meetings, one at South Padre Island, one in Port Isabel, just to give the public an update on the project. We had good comments at both meetings. One comment that was made again during the meeting in Port Isabel last week, and it was a comment that was made multiple times when we had the public hearing in July of 2012, was a bike lane. And so our engineering consultant is currently doing a very, very preliminary study on adding a bike lane at the existing causeway. We're probably about 30, 45 days away from having enough information, a sketch that we can show to the public. Obviously, we'll start with TxDOT because the causeway is owned by TxDOT. Probably about 4 sessions ago, the city of Port Isabel came to us. they had a concern on the lifespan of the causeway because there wasn't a lot of maintenance being done at the causeway at that time. So we went to our delegation, we went to TxDOT, and since then, TxDOT has invested, I don't have the exact number, but probably $8–10 million into the causeway to extend the lifespan of it. I can't speak for the lifespan of it, but I do know that TxDOT is committed to continuing that maintenance, preventive maintenance, so that that causeway can be there for the years to come. So we're hoping here the next 30–60 days we can have something that we can start meeting with different bicycle groups, meet with TxDOT, meet with the MPO, and see, try and pin down a cost. We're thinking that it'll be something that should be acceptable to TxDOT, and we should be able to look and tap into different funding sources so that we can accommodate a bike lane at the existing causeway. That has generated a lot of interest at different meetings that we have throughout the county, throughout the valley. We had a meeting, Commissioner Dominguez had a meeting in Olmito a couple of weeks ago, and that came up, as well as Bus. So it's a countywide, valley-wide initiative. When we had the public hearing July 2012 at the island, there was a group of bikers from Edinburgh that rode down. When I've done presentations to the city of Edinburgh, I've met privately with some of the bike clubs from over there. So it's generated a lot of interest, and we're hoping to be able to work with all the governmental entities in Cameron County and TxDOT to make sure that becomes a reality.
Pete, could we just for a second, I thought we were going to start construction on East Loop in 2013, but now it's 2015. And that's what I need. What I need from you, the RMA, our city management, is to get together. We have an agreement with Homeland Security as far as the temporary fence, and they agreed to that because we were building the East Loop. But the funding is going to have to come locally for the removal of the temporary fence. That was one of the agreements that was on there. So can you get together with our management and look into that, because we're going to need to prepare for that. If the construction is going to begin in 2015, we do need to begin, because the agreement with Homeland Security was that we would be responsible for removing the temporary fence.
Yes, that one of the complexities of that project is not only the DHS temporary wall, but also the relocation of the levee. And we've been working with IBWC on that. I have the order that was signed by the federal judge, and I'll go back and look at it. I thought it was DHS responsibility to fund the removal and the construction of the permanent wall, but I'll get with your staff, okay, and I'll double check on that.
Thank you, Pete.
Pete, I have a quick question. You're talking about the bike lanes on the causeway. Are there any plans with TxDOT and your people to create some sort of safe passageway for bikers going to our sports park, or cyclists, I should say, like in the future, or what do we need to get that started?
No, I have talked to Robert Esparza from the traffic department about fixing the problem around this location where the bikers don't have the ability to get from the frontage road from one side to the other because of the rail line. The switch yard is right here. Mm-hmm. And so years and years ago, we had sketched a drawing that would add a bike lane to the overpass at that location, and we had sent that to TxDOT, and we hadn't gotten any response from TxDOT, but I have been talking the last couple of weeks with Robert Esparza about that, and so we can, if we don't, and that sketch was done in a napkin, but if we can't find it, I'll get somebody else to redo it. It's a very simple fix. And in the Houston area, the way we got that idea was driving around the Houston area and then finding out that they had a very, very similar situation to what we have right here. And I had one of our traffic engineers draw something on a napkin while we were in Houston. I brought it back with me, and I gave that to TxDOT. If we can't, if I can't get a hold of that, we'll redraw it again and get that back to TxDOT.
We did, to answer your question as well, or to add to that, the Texas State TxDOT Bike Peds Coordinator was here last week?
2 weeks ago. She was at the Olmito meeting as well.
Right, and so she met with you guys, and then she met with many of our city staff. And there were several items of interest like that, that we were interested in. And they did offer some solutions. One was over, the other was the suggestion of a tunnel under the railroad. Whichever solution we end up choosing together is going to have the cooperation of Union Pacific, which is the big elephant in the room. But we are on it, and we are working on it, and we'll be talking to them even more so.
You're right. If we go under, we have to get UP's approval. If we add it to the overpass, that's a state issue. So while it's more expensive, I think that's the better option, is to add a lane on the overpass. But I'll get with your staff, and I'm going to see. I believe in the past the mayor and the county judge have sent letters to TxDOT regarding that, and I think the MPO as well. So I'll try and dig out those letters and resend them to TxDOT. This is just a slide that we update on a monthly basis, and our system of project is worth $1.9 billion. Of that 1.9, we've completed or have under construction almost 450 million, which is almost $500 million. And so we believe in the next 5 to 7 years, we will have most of our projects under construction or already completed. Mentioned earlier a slide on US 77. As I mentioned, the signage is all the way into Willacy County. There's a couple of projects in the Clayburgh, Nueces County area. There's a planned bypass around Driscoll. TxDOT is acquiring the right-of-way as we speak. As soon as they do that, they'll design it, and then the only thing lacking will be the construction dollars for that bypass. They're doing the right-of-way map for the bypass in Rivera. Same as soon as they complete the right-of-way map, they'll acquire the right-of-way and design it, and then all they'll need is construction dollars. If you travel on 77, you know that when you get to Ricardo, there's a school zone, and depending on the time of the day, you might have to slow down all the way to 35 miles an hour. Well, there's an overpass and main lanes planned just north of Rivera through north of Ricardo. And if you've traveled lately along this area from Kingsville, the Driscoll, you see a lot of construction activity going on. There's about $100 million worth of construction ongoing in the Kingsville, Bishop, Driscoll area. That project is slated to be completed in the next 15 months. And so once we have those projects completed, we will be able to sign the entire route as Interstate 69E. We're trying to work with TxDOT in getting these projects ready for construction, assuming that Proposition 1 passes in November and the additional transportation dollars are available. That's one project that could compete very well statewide and be able to get the funding to complete all 4 projects and sign it all the way from Corpus to Brownsville as I-69E. We're trying to do the same thing with the bike lane at the existing causeway. If we can get it ready and the Proposition 1 does pass, then we've got a solid chance of competing statewide for funding for that project. So we're working very closely with TxDOT, and hopefully we at a future date come back and get a resolution of support from the city, the MPO, and the different municipalities from throughout the Rio Grande Valley. That concludes our presentation. I know it was rather quick, but if y'all want a more detailed presentation, we're available to do that. If y'all want to tour the projects, just let us know. We've got a couple of projects that are nearing completion. We've got a couple of other projects that we want to start. I didn't mention this, but I've been working with the MPO staff and trying to get some Category 7 funds to when the rail right-of-way, when the rail is removed, that right-of-way will be there, and perhaps we can utilize it to build a road with the hike and bike trails. And so we've been meeting at the MPO probably the last couple of months. We've had numerous meetings, and I think we're just about ready to go to the policy committee with a recommendation, and hopefully we can get some funding to start developing that project, because that project too is a great project and it can compete very well statewide. And so there's a couple of projects that we're going to be looking at and submitting for those statewide funds, assuming that Prop 1 passes.
Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thanks, Pete. Thank you, Pete.
Consent agenda items?
Item 4, consent agenda item A.
Second.
All in favor? Public hearings?
Public hearings, item 5, public hearing and action on first reading of ordinance number 2014-1592 to approve a negotiated resolution between the city and Texas Gas Service regarding the company's May 1st, 2014 cost of service adjustment filing, granting the company's request for a good cause waiver of language in section C5 of the COSA clause, declaring existing rates to be unreasonable, approving attached tariffs to reflect rate adjustments consistent with the negotiated settlement, and finding the rates to be set by the attached tariffs to be just and reasonable, providing for the recovery of the city's and TGS's reasonable and necessary rate case expenses, adopting a savings clause determining that this ordinance was passed in accordance with the requirements of the Texas Open Meetings Act, declaring an effective date, repealing any prior ordinances inconsistent with this ordinance, and requiring delivery of this ordinance to the companies and the city's legal counsel.
Members of the commission, back in 2009, the city was in agreement, formed an agreement with Texas Gas Service along with other cities in the valley, which set rates and also provided for cost of service adjustments in the event there were fluctuations in cost. In May 1st, 2014, Texas Gas Service filed with the city a cost of service adjustment tariff seeking to increase natural gas rates, and at that time requested a system-wide increase of about $1.2 million. The attorneys for the city have basically negotiated a system-wide increase of only $936,000, which represents a savings of $300-some thousand. And we would ask that the City Commission approve this cost of service adjustment.
Motion to approve.
This is a public hearing. Is there any public comment?
Motion to close public hearing.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Would approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 6.
Item 6, public hearing and action on the substantial amendment to the home fiscal year 2007-2011 one-year action plans, October 1st, 2007 to September 30th, 2012.
Good evening. My name is Ana Hernandez. I'm the housing coordinator with the Office of Grant Management. I'm here today to present a substantial amendment to the 2007-2011 annual action plans. Sorry. Thank you. So why do we have to go through the substantial amendment process? The Citizens Participation Plan in 24 CFR Part 91 requires amending the city's annual action plan whenever one of the following scenarios occur: to make a change in the goal, priority, or activity of the consolidated plan, to carry out an activity using funds from any program covered by the consolidated plan previously covered in the action plan, to change the purpose, scope, location, or beneficiaries of an activity included in the annual action plan, and then a transfer between two or more plan activities that is greater than 30% of the home program funds also trigger a substantial amendment. For this proposed substantial amendment, the city accepted written comments for a 30-day period, started July 9th through August 8th. We also held one public hearing on July 15 at the Brownsville Citizens Advisory Committee, and a second public hearing that is taking place as I speak. We anticipate submitting this proposed substantial amendment to HUD on August 13, 2014, which is tomorrow. This substantial amendment proposes two changes. First, to defund the Acquisition Rehabilitation Program previously allocated to the Community Development Corporation of Brownsville, CDCB. That's an amount of $370,000. And second, allocate new funding to a Community Housing Development Corporation organization, or CHODO, for the acquisition of scattered lots in Brownsville downtown area. To give you a brief summary on the changes, the first proposed change came over issues cited by CDCB related to funding lots at a reasonable cost or that do not exceed the original proposed award amount. In terms of the second proposed change, the city plans to execute a written agreement with a community housing development organization for the acquisition of scattered lots within the city of Brownsville downtown area. For the purposes of defining downtown area here, it's the area between Palm Boulevard and International Road, and from the U.S.-Mexico border to U.S. Highway 77 or Interstate 69. Home funds will be used for the land acquisition as needed by the Choto, and upon approval of this substantial amendment, the Choto will purchase approximately 25 scattered lots, all located in the downtown area. And that concludes the presentation.
This is a public comment.
Roberto Uresti, concerned citizen. My question is, this 25 lots you're going to be acquiring because of transfer funding, who is going to get this property?
Properties are going to be, will follow the home rule, which will be for low-income families. The acquisition of scattered lots will be for new construction projects. So we will find qualified home buyers which are low income and meet other requirements to live in these houses.
That's the question that it's kind of hard to me understand, because I didn't hear residential. That's why I didn't hear. Okay, I didn't hear that, because the way you said it, it could be a building. It could be anything. So now we're saying it is residential, and you're going to use other funds through the other programs, right, to help them build a home, right? Okay. All right. Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Will this be for this year's allocation, or will this be so it's just for this year's allocation?
Yes.
Okay. When you come back next year, or when we continue next year for next year's home monies, are we going to go back to what we did in the past? In other parts of the city? Not just because it just, you know, the language where it says within the downtown area.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand where Mr. Oresti's concern is coming from. But rest assured, Mr. Odesi, that it is for home, but it just, the language, the downtown home area, you know, I am a recipient, my constituents are recipients of some of these home funds. District 4, well, which does fall within downtown area, but we will be in the future. When we apply for these funds again, are we going to go back to another model? This won't be the only model, as per se.
No, this is just for this. This is the project-specific, basically, idea.
Thank you.
That's targeted area. Mm-hmm.
Did you have something to add, Edgar?
No.
No, just to clarify, yeah, this downtown area is just for these 25 lots. Any other new construction programs that we already have or are going to have in future years will be throughout the whole city. It's just that these 25 lots will be specifically in the downtown area.
Thank you. Was there another question from the commission?
Move to close public comment.
Second.
All in favor? Need a motion to approve?
Would approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public comment?
Item 7, public comment. Mr.
Item number 8.
Item number 8, consideration and action to discuss a possible ad valorem tax rate increase and to authorize 2 public hearings on August the 26th, 2014, and September the 2nd, 2014, to discuss the proposed ad valorem tax rate that will exceed the effective tax rate.
Honorable Mayor Pro Tem and City Commissioners, every time the city proposes a tax rate above the effective tax rate or the rollback rate, we must have 2 public hearings. We're requesting your authorization to have the first public hearings on August 26th and September 2nd.
So approved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Item 9.
Item 9, consideration and action to acknowledge the financial statements and cash investment report for the City of Brownsville third quarter report ended June 30th, 2014.
Honorable Pro Tem, City Commissioners, binder financials are in front of you, and along with it is a handout on the presentation I have on the board. First, we're going to present the unofficial, unaudited financial statements for the third quarter ended June 30th. Some financial highlights: state sales tax are exceeding last year's numbers by 3.94%, or above 2.3% the budget projections. Tax levies are a slightly higher collection than last year. Based on the 9 months receipts of Veterans Bridge revenues, we're exceeding last year's numbers by 27%, but to note it's only 2.9% above the budget projections after last year's decrease. Hotel motel taxes receipts are higher by 9.72%. Unemployment rate for the month of June is 9.6%. Landfill tonnage has a slight decrease compared to last year of about 1.85. On actual, we project that the decrease will be about 135,000. Building permit values have decreased 3.63% to the same quarter of last year. Utility expenditures are 14% higher than the same quarter of last year. Municipal court revenues have decreased 10.88%. We project that there'll be a decrease of about 298,000. And PUB cash transfer may not meet budget transfers. We actually got an email today that our projected amount was 7.7%, and the projected amount is going to be 7.2%. Go to the next page. You have the sales tax worksheet on here, where we show that 3.94% or 747,000 increase over the same period as last year. We have a bar graph of that. We see the steady growth in the sales tax that's growing, and we anticipate that 2014 will exceed our budget of 25,112,000. This is a sales tax comparison between other cities in other cities in the valley that have their related increases. Bridge fund again. This is a 27.89% increase, which is 254,000 more than we had the same period as last time. But we only show an increase of about 3% or 33,000 above budget amount. Veterans Bridge, we show a bar graph representing the funds they're receiving. We're projecting that we'll have the same revenues for year 2011 and 2012. Building permits, we show a decrease on all the related building permit categories of 3.63%. Building permits, we're anticipating to have the same building permits valuations for year 2012 and 2013. PUB quarterly cash transfers, through the third quarter of this year, we showed we're slightly higher based on some reports that we've gotten from their financial office, chief financial officer. We are going to probably be meeting what we received last year, equivalent, but it will be short of their projections. Unemployment rate for this year, 9.60, down to single digits. General fund balances history. Last year we have 60,704,000, estimated 13,357,000. Go through this. This is the different fund balance categories, breakdown by assigned, committed, restricted. We have the, on this is a general fund statement of revenue changes in fund balance. On revenues, we actually have 76,367,742. We have revenues are exceeding expenses by $5,303,044. Just to note that most of our revenues are generated from the property taxes, so we still have a quarter to go. This will definitely be a lot less than in this last quarter that we have. Balance sheet for the general fund, $43,659,000. This schedule represents the fund balance summary. Fund balance summary. We begin off with a beginning fund balance of about $18,362,000. All budgeted revenues adds up to $115 million. Excuse me. Less budgeted expenses of $101,647,000. Estimated fund balance of $13,357,000. They'll bring a fund balance down to 13.4%. Now, conservatively, we've always had done better on the fund balance based on this, so we should be higher than the 13% at year end. Convention and Tourism Fund, we show revenues, expenses in excess of revenues of $443,000. There's still a general fund transfer that needs to be made of $366,000. Community development revenues, we're using the fund balance revenues exceed. Excuse me. Revenues are under expenses. Expenditures by using the fund balance of $1,347,000. It keeps this fund balance at June 30th at $661,000. Non-bonded debt have a fund balance of $11,813. General fund bonded debt, we have a fund balance of $4,798,000. We do have a rather large debt service payment that's going to be due by August 15th. Landfill tipping fees, we have revenues in excess of expenditures $264,000. Airport fund, we have revenues under expenditures for $423,000. There's still a general fund transfer of about $1 million that has not been made. Bridge fund, total collections, adding the fund balance of $1,623,000. Motor vehicle parking system, we show a revenues in excess of expenditures of $12,181. Public transit, we have all the revenues, expenditures, and the representative of all the local shares. And Golf Center, we have a revenues under expenditure of $113,000. Also, we have a general fund transfer of $348,000 that would make sure that this fund is kept in the black. This is our medical insurance fund. Currently, right now, we have contributions in excess of expenditures of $539,000. Beginning fund balance $684,000 has this fund balance in the black of $1,224,000. Noting that by year end, there's usually a payable or vouchers payable or accounts payable, claims payables that roll into about $1 million. So this fund should stay in the black approximately with $224,000. And the investments, deposits and investments for the city of Brownsville composed of a checking account, money market, CDs, investments, total Brownsville investments $63,434,000.
Thank you.
City Manager? We need to have I think that it's fair to say that we should have a joint meeting with the PUB board. I don't want you or anybody from the City Commission going before them to speak on the terms that we had agreed upon before. So I think it's only fair that within the next week or 2 weeks, if you could set up a joint meeting between the PUB board and between us here in our chamber, like we have done in the past, so that we can discuss the PUB transfer and terms that, things that need to be discussed so that both boards can be on board and that we can clearly address the PUB transfer that's going to be coming to the city this year.
Okay, we'll work on that.
Thank you.
I have a question. I don't know if this is a question for finance or for city management, but, and this might only be a little drop in the bucket, but when you're talking about taxpayer money, you have to try to save everywhere you can, or at least spend it responsibly. Now, the commission has a travel allowance. I assume we have a budget to travel out of town, hotel, whatever we need to conduct business out of town. In just like with any other line item or account, if something goes over, it comes before us for a budget amendment, right?
Some items do when when it significantly impacts the budget, but on operationals, those are budget transfers are done internally by the finance department to cover some shortfalls on some of these minor line items. But
Okay.
only larger items that would significantly impact the fund balance are brought before the commission for approval.
Okay, I mean, because I feel as an elected official representing taxpayers, they should know where their money is being spent. And a lot of times, I mean, they could request a public information request and find this information. But I feel that if it's a considerable amount that any commission member is going over, that they should be informed, and that we as a commission should hear about it so we can approve it, because we are responsible for the city's budget. That's one of our primary roles.
We're funded through the general fund.
Well, I guess we can discuss this
We'll
more in
definitely
detail.
discuss it with management.
I think
Okay.
that's a good point.
We'll discuss this and see how we can take action.
I move to acknowledge the finance director's report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item 10.
Item 10, consideration and action on resolution number 2014-052 to authorize city manager Charlie Kabler to accept grant number 2015-T01-City of from the Texas Auto Burglary and Theft Prevention Authority for the South Texas Auto Theft Enforcement Task Force project for fiscal year 2014 through 2015 in the amount of $1,073,195.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Commander Juan Hernandez, and I'm basically here to request your authority to accept this grant that has been given to us by the Auto Burglary and Theft Prevention Authority. This money will be used so that we can continue the operations of the South Texas Auto Theft Enforcement Task Force. And Brownsville will get the largest share of this money, but we will be sharing it with four other different agencies.
Would approve?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 11.
Thank you, Commander.
Item 11, consideration and action to award a contract for the purchase and delivery of 2 vehicles for the Planning Department.
Good evening, Commissioners. What you have before you this evening is a request and recommendation for the purchase of 2 vehicles for the Planning Department. The Planning Department for some time has gone without any city-provided vehicles for staff usage. We were provided with a bid tabulation sheet from purchasing. We've selected 2 vehicles, and we're recommending approval tonight of those 2 vehicles.
I'm noticing that you're recommending approval for the out-of-town vendor because of the price difference. What is, I forgot the price difference that we could use to do
Local preference.
5%?
5%? I think they're over by
And-
like $100.
But the other vendor has to narrate and request it. No one requested that, and I don't think we're,
And it went to the buy board, right, Mike?
we went to about, yeah.
Well, it's my understanding that the Ford vendor, their bids are no longer valid. I believe this is from a standing bid tabulation sheet, which is dated August 9th of 2013. Apparently, the Ford dealer is no longer honoring the bids that are indicated on the tabulation, but the Chevrolet vendor is.
So you have a letter from them stating that they're not honoring the bid that they put?
Mr. Luna can provide verification of that in purchasing.
They didn't have the models of cars that we wanted here locally. So
At Tipton?
they bid on alternative cars.
They don't have a 2014 Ford Taurus?
They've got lots of cars. I'm sure they've got one.
May I ask?
Commissioner, what happened was the bid that was used was from last year, and when we approached Tipton to get their okay to buy the new 2014, it was the cutoff date. We were too late in the cutoff date, so they were not able to have the price for the new model.
When you mean we, us as the city or
Us, the
Ford?
city. We contact Tipton to verify if their price was still good, because part of the specs is for the price to be good for 1 year. But they were saying that the new model, the 2014, were not available because of the cutoff date. They were not able to provide us with the new model.
So then we didn't actually have two vendors that we selected from the buy board. Are these selected from the buy board?
No, we went out for if you look at the tab sheet on the agenda, we have those prices that were established back in 2013.
So how is this a correct process if you don't have, to me, it sounds like the bidding process was not done correctly.
No, it was done. It was done. The thing is, when these vendors submit their prices, we have up to 1 year for the prices to be good. Just in case if we need to purchase additional vehicles, we can go ahead and use their prices. So most of the time, these companies, what they do, they honor the price because that's on the specs.
And do you have something from the Ford company that says that they're not honoring that?
We should have an email from them stating that.
Do you have it to provide it to us today?
Yes, ma'am.
Can we see it?
Let me see if it was included on the agenda. I'll be more than happy to provide you with that information.
I would like to make a motion then to table it until you can provide us that document.
Need a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay. Nay.
Nay.
Slot.
And 3 ayes.
Thank you.
This is a standard vehicle purchase. Only in this type of a setting does this happen. We have the documentation in our agenda from
Yes.
Ford. The Ford tabulation is there. They
I'm
didn't
asking
have
for the supporting documentation. If they don't have it, there's no reason why we can't table it.
This is a standard city commission approval
Okay,
of vehicles.
City Attorney, what is the process now?
It's up to what the commission wants. I mean, what he was saying was that there was a question that was made. If you want to ask him for more information, you can. If you feel it's comfortable voting on it, you can. It's really up
Well,
to you.
obviously, the vote was a tie, so nothing was decided. So what happens now?
Nothing was done on the table, so it goes to a vote. The motion was to table.
Correct.
It was tied to table. So that measure did not pass. The motion to table did not pass. So the item on the agenda is still
Action item.
It's still an
action
action
item.
item. And if that motion does not pass,
Then-
meaning it's a tie, does it just come back
They don't
next
buy the
week?
vehicles.
Or what happens?
If it's tied, it does not pass, it could come back at a later time.
Okay.
I mean, I
Move to
think
approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Nay.
I think all the ordinary documentation is in our packets. If you're gonna ask for something extraordinary, I think it should be done ahead of time.
Before the meeting.
Before the meeting.
Before the meeting.
Well, I mean, I think we're just checking to make sure that a local vendor, that sales tax that goes to the city.
They're
meet
not
every
honoring
week.
the price.
We meet every week this month, so we can.
Yeah, we'll
Next
figure
week.
it out.
For the next
Very
We'll
week.
figure it out. It doesn't
All
have
right,
to be.
any other?
Move to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.